If you could ask any question to Tolkien, what would that be?
Why did you bring Gandalf back from the dead? He should have stayed dead. That was one of the great moments when I mean, people talk about my characters dying, but I remember when I was, 12, 13 years old and reading Fellowship of the Ring, and Gandalf goes down into that pit with the Balrog, and fly, you fools, and God, the power of that scene. And Gandalf was dead. He was like the daddy. He was the one who knew everything. He was the smart guy. Now the kids were on their own, and how were they going to fare? I mean, it was such a tremendous, gutsy, powerful thing to do. But then he brought him back.
Okay.
Had a different cloak on, white instead of gray. Okay, but I would have left him dead.
Good.
I almost wrote Tolkien when I was a kid. I really wish I had, because I learned, many years later, reading biographies of Tolkien, I learned that Tolkien responded to many of the fans who wrote him. And if as a 13-year-old kid I had written Tolkien a letter, there was probably a pretty good chance I would have gotten a letter back, and boy, that would have been an amazing thing. It doesn't apply to me, however, so don't send me letters. Tolkien lived before the internet. He didn't get that many letters. I get like hundreds of emails every day, and I can't reply to them all. I'm sorry. Also, he was much nicer than I was.
Okay. This question was sent by Rubén Padilla Cortés. And the question is, in such a violent and devastated world, does George R.R. Martin think humanity will have a happy ending?
Well, it might be happy for some people. For others, it might not be so happy. I don't know if that as a writer, that I really believe in the conventional, cliched happy ending, where everything is resolved and the good guy wins and the bad guy loses. We very seldom see that in real life or in history, and I don't find it as emotionally satisfying myself as what I like to call the bittersweet ending. I think Tolkien, I keep coming back to Tolkien because he was a huge influence on me. If you look at Lord of the Rings, its ending is at best bittersweet. Yes, the One Ring is destroyed. Sauron is cast down and defeated. Aragorn becomes king, but at great cost. At great cost. The Shire is destroyed in the scouring of the Shire. Frodo is never the same. His wound that he received on Weathertop never heals, and he can never really enjoy the world that he's won for others. To me, that ending had great poignance and great power, especially as I got older and I understood it. When I first read those books, I was like 13 years old, and you reach the end where the ring goes into the fire, and then you say, "What are all these other pages?" That was the end, wasn't it? That was the end. The good guys win. And I didn't quite know what to make of the scouring of the Shire. But as I reread those books, as I do every few years, the brilliance and the necessity of the scouring of the Shire becomes clearer and clearer to me. And it's a brilliant piece. And Tolkien, of course, was really writing in a metaphorical sense about England after World War II and some of the things that were experienced there. But that's the perfect ending. The way he ended that book was just right. And I'm not going to tell you how I'm going to end my book, but I suspect the overall flavor is going to be as much bittersweet as it is happy.
Okay. Okay, so we have another question. This was sent by Oscar Adrián Moriel Tena. Congratulations. So, if you had the chance to create a story situated on another writer's universe, which one would that be? What story would you write, and what would you explore?
In another writer's universe?
Yeah.
I don't tend to do that very often. I like to create my own universes. The one exception I have made for that was Jack Vance, who I mentioned earlier. I edited a book a few years ago called Songs of the Dying Earth, in which myself and 20 other writers, who are all huge fans of Jack Vance, wrote stories set in Jack Vance's Dying Earth universe. Jack was around and he was writing brilliant science fiction and fantasy from the late 1940s, from World War II, up until his death just a few years ago. He was well into his 90s when he died. And his work was enormously influential. I mean, if any of you have ever played Dungeons and Dragons, the entire magic system of Dungeons and Dragons was created by Jack Vance. They just kind of lifted it from the Dying Earth books, the whole sequence where you have spells and you memorize the spells, but you can only use them once and then they're gone. That was Jack Vance. And the Dying Earth was a wonderful world. So I did write a story for that book, and a number of other people also contributed stories to Songs of the Dying Earth. And I'm very proud of that. It was a tribute anthology to Jack, and he gave us permission to do it. There's a lot of tribute anthologies that you see out there, which are normally done after the writer dies. So the writer doesn't get to really know that all these people are paying tribute to him because he's dead. We did this while Jack was still alive. In addition to writing these stories, everybody wrote an afterword about how they had encountered the work of Jack Vance and the effect that it had on them, the influence it had on them, and some very, very moving and eloquent essays by all sorts of really major fantasy and science fiction writers. And Jack got to read all of those while he was still alive. I hope it gave him a certain amount of satisfaction. But I'm very proud of having edited that book.
Okay, thank you.